one of the good days I will be back.
When Andrew Babiyile went to prison 2 years ago, he was an angry young man in a town full of hate.
Vrijburg is a place which consists of racism.
Now he is ready to come home, but is the town ready for him?
Vrijburg and the people of Vrijburg would like the past to get to rest.
4 years ago, Vrijburg High School hit the headlines when a group of white parents, armed with shamrocks, descended on the school. With their children safely locked in their classrooms, the parents went on a rampage. They beat and assaulted black students, many of whom had to crawl through broken windows to escape. Most white parents believed that this was the only way to protect their children and sort out the racial tension at the school. Earlier, the principal had been taken hostage, and fighting among learners had become so bad that many felt it was only a matter of time before someone was killed.
This is private property.
No one was killed, but the attack by the parents only made matters worse. The war between white and black students escalated, filtering into both the town and the township. Then the final straw. A white boy, Christoffel Erasmus, was stabbed by his black schoolmate, Andrew Babiyile.
We tend to be so aggrieved that we fail to pick out the silver lining in the cloud. It should be somewhere there for us to pick out.
It was terrible. Early in the morning when I wear my uniform and say that I'm going to school, I panic first. Each and every time when I wear my uniform saying that I'm going to school. Because I know there were so-called group of the rugby boys whom were regarded as the bullies of the school. Whom, even if you judge their body, you can just see that he's meaning something. There's one, but not education.
It was sad for both Babiyile and for the school and for the communities and for Erasmus and for whoever was, associated with the school or this community. It is a sad affair.
As with everything else in Vrijburg, there are two versions of what happened in the Andrew Babiyile affair. The whites say Andrew was a vicious criminal who premeditated and planned the stabbing. For the blacks, he was an innocent victim of racial abuse who acted in self-defense. Dumile Mabuya was in grade 7 at the time. He recalls the incident.
It was the first break, and we were at the tax shop. And I didn't see, but I saw Babiyile. He was around the circle of white students. And it was like they were trying to beat him. So the only way to survive was to take out that scissor and then to stab that kid, and then so that he can get out of the way and run away, so that he can run.
Erasmus says he wasn't part of this group. He was merely watching the fight when he got stabbed. Central to the whole affair was the pair of scissors. Was it a weapon or merely a school tool? Andrew claimed he coincidentally had them on him. He'd been covering books the period before and had mindlessly put them in his pocket.
I just put it on my pocket, you see. And then when I go to the tuck shop, I didn't realize that there is something that I can regard it as something that is harmful to me. Because it was an instrument of a school.
School instrument or not, the wound he inflicted on Christoffel was serious. Later, this fact caused the charge against Andrew to be changed, from the lesser one of grievous bodily harm to attempted murder. The 19-year-old schoolboy was suddenly catapulted onto center stage. The court case further polarized the town. In the township, support for Andrew was growing.
You all know the situation is very tense in Vrijburg, and we're not going to allow this march into town. We're all big people. We can solve the situation without any violence.
For how long? For how long?
48 hours. Then there's a meeting that they can decide upon.
48 hours later, the protest moved into town. This growing militancy frightened the whites. A support Babayile committee had been formed to help coordinate all the activities. Charles Mogale was the press secretary. He read out the memorandum.
The people of Vrijburg and the black youth in South Africa as a whole had wanted somebody, a symbol of resistance to their plight in these historically white schools. He happened to be there. He didn't choose. He didn't know, I'm sure, that what he was doing that day, wrong as it was, would have changed him, Vrijburg High, and the rest of the country. He didn't know.
As the trial dragged on, support in the township grew even more. By now, the name Andrew Babayile had become known countrywide. It had become synonymous with racial violence in the small platteland towns of the northwest. It was against this backdrop that Andrew was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. The court rejected evidence that he had acted in self-defense. Instead, it found there was a real intention on his part to commit the act. The harshness of the sentence only made matters worse. To many, he was not only a victim of racism at school, he had now become the victim of a racist judicial system.
There is a syndicate that wants to convert Andrew into jail. And we're saying that we'll demonstrate peacefully to the end that Comrade Andrew has been released. Amanda! Down with racism, down! Andrew,
Despite numerous attempts, none of the early appeals was successful. Andrew began to serve his sentence in Kimberley's juvenile prison. Meanwhile, at another school across the country, Bryanston High, there was a similar incident of racial violence. In this case, the perpetrators were a group of white boys who assaulted and kicked a black student in the eye. Unlike in Andrew's case, the school resolved the matter internally. The police weren't brought in, nor criminal charges laid.
All of us in Gauteng and the rest of South African learners should learn from this incident.
After mediation attempts by the Provincial MEC of Education, the perpetrators were permitted back in school. One of them even went on to become a prefect. Back in Huhudi Township, residents were outraged by the contrast between these two cases. The Support Babayile campaign changed its name. It became the Free Andrew Babayile campaign, and his friends began to mobilize for his release. Jail, they felt, was not an appropriate sentence for a schoolboy.
The ANC Youth League has never believed that Andrew is a criminal. He is on the one hand, a victim of circumstances beyond his own control. But on the other hand, he is a symbol, a representative of the situation facing many black youth in most historically white schools in our country.
But the white community doesn't see it this way.
You can never blame, you can never applaud somebody that tried to murder somebody else. While Andrew Babayile was in school, prior to the scissors incident, we had disciplinary problems with him. He was taken to regular. There, he nearly killed an Afrikaans-speaking teacher with a knife. The Department of Education expelled this guy from the schooling system.
Andrew denies this. He says that because of his high profile, he was continually victimized. Either way, Andrew was an angry young man by the time he went to prison. He felt wronged by the school, by the police, and the justice system. A visit by former President Nelson Mandela changed all of this.
I've told him of how many of prisoners took advantage of prison and studied.
After this visit, Andrew changed visibly. He formed a cultural group and got involved in many youth activities. Mandela also gave Andrew money so that he could continue his studies.
When I was behind the bus, I meditated a lot. I imagined a lot of things. I started from the ex-president. I said that he made it. I read A Long Walk to Freedom. After reading A Long Walk to Freedom, I started getting the reason why he met with the enemy. And said to myself that bitterness, hatred in my heart, I will always taking it out.
He qualifies to be trusted by Mandela himself. Not that Utatu Madiba trusts him because he thinks what he did was correct. No. It's only because he understands the role that Andrew must play after this.
While Andrew has been serving his sentence in Kimberley, the situation at Vrijburg High School has improved dramatically. The former principal, who many accuse of fomenting racial hatred, is gone, along with his all-white governing body. The new principal is largely credited with turning the school around. Each Monday morning, assembly starts with a grand entrance by the teachers.
A school on which I, as the principal, the SGB and the whole of the community are really very proud.
De Toy arrived at Vrijburg at the beginning of last year.
In George, waar ek vandaan kom, het my vriende vir my so met medelee aangekyk en party het gesê, "Are you mad?" Ander het gesê, "Ons sal vir jou bid." Nou, ek is nie mal nie en gebede het ek nodig. Maar toe ek hier kom en ek vra rond, nou, wat is dan verkeerd met Vrijburg? Toe kom die stories uit. En omtrent die eerste dag is ek gekonfronteer met 'n Andrew Babele case waarvan ek niks geweet het nie.
For De Toy, the solution is simple. All the students need is a fair hand, disputes to be judged on their own merit and not on the basis of color. This, a little bit of strict Christian discipline, and no politics.
Die probleem wat ek het met politiek op skool, onmiddellik het jy groeperings. En groeperings in 'n skool soos Vrijburg is 'n gevaarlike ding. Ek laat geen groepe toe, geen politiek hoegenaamd aan geen kant nie. Ek sal wel godsdienstgroepe toelaat, ja, maar geen politiek nie.
This ban on politics seems to have worked till now. But in the lead-up to Andrew Babayile's release, the question remains. Can the Andrew issue really be kept out of the school?
Ja, ek dink dit kan net weer ou wonde oopkrap. En dit kan weer meer opbou. En ons word nie toegelaat, jy leer af, dit ons gehelp om daarvan te vergeet.
Sunday night in Huhudi Township, Vrijburg. It's the night before Andrew Babayile's release. At his house, everyone is waiting. And around the township, the feeling is much the same.
It's obvious that we're excited, we're happy, after his incarceration. We're happy that at last he's coming home. Firstly, he was not supposed to be there.
Early the next morning at Kimberley Prison, preparations are underway for the release. A big media contingent is expected and the Department of Correctional Services want to be fully prepared. Everyone is there except Andrew's mom, who is waiting at home.
In prison, it was hard. It's seriously hard. You have to accept anything you get, no matter it's harming you or whatever, but you have to accept. Prison, it's filled with evil spirit.
We would ourselves like to make a special appeal to the media in this country to allow Andrew to be a boy again. A community boy who grows up, who dates, who plays, without the attention of the entire country focused on him. He is too young for that attention. the attention is overwhelming.
My only one thing that I have liked to make within this country is to meet again with the boy whom I have stabbed, so they say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
Don't forget this thing.
You want what?
For the background of the mask.
Okay, then we are just going to hold it here at Babele's house.
Plans for his welcome are progressing well. A small contingent of people will greet him in town as he is handed over to the Northwest officials. But the real party is planned for here, at his house. After the press conference, Andrew is escorted by the prison officials. From here, he is to be driven to Vrijburg. Since he is being released into correctional supervision, the conditions are strict. He is not allowed to drink or take drugs, or even visit a place where drink is sold.
That car in front, that one northwest, behind this one, the rest in back.
At the parole office in town, Vrijburg's mayor arrives.
And we're hoping that with the coming back of Babele will make us begin to talk together. He is a young man who got into the problems that he got into, but he cannot be condemned for life.
Yeah, the first thing that I'm going to do when I get home, the only one first thing that I want to do, I want to hug my mom. That is the plan that I want to do. I want to hug my mom.
Such is the excitement by the time he finally does arrive that Andrew doesn't even get the chance to hug his mom. All she gets is a small piece of her son.
We've missed him as a friend and as a community for almost 2 years. We were excited. We were excited anyway. But to us, he'll remain a hero, and he'll remain a hero indeed to the young people in this country.
Being welcomed back as a hero, I think it's a great pity. A message was sent out that in South Africa, if you've committed a crime and when you get back to your hometown, you're being welcomed back as a hero.
Back in the township, the hero worship continues as Andrew is paraded through the streets.
Andrew has enjoyed the love, the warmth, the support and sympathy of the overwhelming majority of the people of this country. But it's exactly because of this support that he owes the country. And I was happy when he said he wants to meet Christopher Erasmus, he wants to reconcile with him. And I'm happy that it came from Andrew that after serving his prison sentence, he has no bitterness towards Christoph, he has no hatred for him. He would want to work with him.
In fact, I didn't expect it. I was just thinking that I'll be released, I'll just come home quietly. But unfortunately, they took me by surprise. I can say that perhaps the name of the destiny. Like my name says Itumele. Itumele means happiness, if I'm not mistaken. I was more than that word. I was more than happy. So, even I didn't know what to do, where to start, and the way I was excited.
Which one are we singing? Hold on. Sorry,
everything that happened, it's on my backside, see. So I'm looking forward for the future.
Most important of Andrew's future plans is to meet with Christoffel Erasmus, but Erasmus is media shy. Even when Mandela went to Vrijburg to meet with him, only his parents were there.
I heard only yesterday that no, he was in Pretoria. I have arranged with his parents that he must come and see me because I want to encourage him to play a constructive role.
But this seems unlikely. In an interview with Afrikaans newspaper Rapport, Christoffel said he wants to get on with his life and doesn't want, as he puts it, cheap publicity by shaking hands and making a big fuss. As far as he is concerned, it was an unfortunate incident, but it is a thing of the past.
As we say, the event must be looked at within the context of the entire environment. The environment led to that situation. The people who had the capacity to lead the boys, to guide them, didn't do anything. In actual fact, they connived to create that situation.
The past is dead. It's dead. And whoever wants to keep on living in the past, whoever wants to keep on hanging, and keep on tying themselves to the past, we are then really breaking the speed with which we can move forward.
I think the first thing they must do is to invite him to the school and say to him they understand that a lot of wrong things happened in the past and that the school takes responsibility for the greater part of those wrong things.
But he's just a normal learner. We don't go around inviting or not a normal learner. He's just a ex-learner of the school. He's not a learner of the school anymore. He's been expelled from the schooling system. And why must we specifically invite Andrew Babele whilst we're not inviting any other ex-learner of the school?
If it did so, it would also be saying to him, once you have made a mistake, you can admit it. It's a great lesson for him and for the rest of us.
It's the morning after the release. At Andrew's home, things are getting back to normal. Andrew's dream is to become a lawyer one day. For that, he'll need to study really hard. But before he moves on, there's one thing that both he and Christoffel must still do.
If I can meet Erasmus and I hold him with my hands and said that let's go to Vrijburg High School. And then I think each and every single kid who is there, they will follow us. To unite me and Erasmus will make another kid to unite themselves.